Alright, welcome back to day 4 of Candy Cane Christmas. Today is going to be an ornament cover. I know Christmas is already come and gone, but we're going to keep going. My apologies for not getting this up earlier. All I can say is that it got really crazy at work and, well, I fell behind. My apologies for that. I'm really sorry. But let's get going. Today I'm going to be working on this ornament, and for those who desire to know, the diameter is about 2.5 inches, which is about 6 centimeters. So mine is fairly little. You can totally adjust this to fit any size bauble, because this is just going to lay on top. We're not actually encasing this. You'll actually be able to take it off and use different baubles, but today I'm going to use this green one. I thought it would show off the red and white really nicely. So get your bauble, and our main attraction today will be seed beads. I will be using the silver lined ruby, my Yuki 11-aught, and these are the rounds, my Yuki rounds. I've got them in red and in the Ceylon, which is kind of a pearly white. You're going to need a feature. I bought these earrings from Walmart for $3, and I'm going to actually take them apart and use the little candy pieces off of here. Because I'm going to do that, I'm going to need some jump rings, and these are tiny. These are 3 millimeters in diameter. You could also use something like this. Let me get this out and show you what they really look like. These are disc beads. They have one hole. They're 11 millimeters. They have an interesting shape to them. They're not just flat. I don't know if you can see that or not, but they're kind of have a bulge on either side. They're very interesting to look at. You could enamel these on the spiral, on the dark part of the spiral, very meticulously, and make them look like candy. That could be a nice feature too. You're gonna need your fire line or Ceylon or whatever you wish to use. I'm using the fire line 8-pound test. And to go with that, I have a size 10 beading needle. I have a pair of scissors, but you could use a thread snap. And because I'm going to work with jump rings, I have a couple of pliers here, one that's bent nose and one that is regular. So get your stuff together and we'll get started. Alright, to start, I'm going to pull off a comfortable length of fire line. More than likely this will not be enough, but I don't like working with really long pieces when I'm trying to film, because I have a tendency to get them caught on my tripod, or, well, pretty much everything. So I have my length, and I'm going to actually take my pliers and just kind of try to pinch. That pair is kind of convex in the middle and not wanting to pinch. You can pinch it like that, or you can do what I normally do and run it through your fingernails. That's going to be up to you if you have nails or not. And then I'm going to thread my needle. And I'm not going to do this on camera because I can't see it. Alright. And as I do most of the time, I'm going to go ahead and tie a single knot at the end of my thread there around my needle. And that's just so that I can keep from losing my needle, because that happens a lot. Let me make some room here. Spill out some seed beads here. You'll notice I'm using quite a bit here. This project is kind of a seed bead heavy sort of project. You can definitely do this with the cheapy, not the cheap ones from, you know, Walmart or, you know, Hobby Lobby, the ones that aren't so exacting as far as every single one is identical in size to every other one. Like these Mayukis, these might be a little expensive to be using in a project like this. Alright, so I'm gonna hold on to the last few inches, about 5 there, just so I have something to hold on to. And I'm gonna start picking up these red ones. I'm gonna pick up a red and then a white and a red and a white until I have enough to go around this the hanger part here. I don't remember what it's called, and I'll be right back. Alright, I have strung on 36 of these size 11 seed beads, alternating red, white, as you can see. I want to have a multiple of 6. For my case, you're going to have to decide for yourself, but I want a multiple of 6 because I want six swags as it goes around. I think 6 will look nice, so no matter how it hangs on the tree, you'll see at least 3 of the little, the little charms here. So once you have on whatever multiple you want, if you want 5, then do a multiple of 5. If you want 5 swags, do a multiple of 5, and so on. If you want 7, do 7, a multiple of 7. The only thing is just to make sure that this is big enough to go around, but not too snug. Let me see if I can get this to show you. Right there. Mine is just a little larger than the circumference of this this hanger at the beginning, or at the top of the ornament, and that's good. I don't want to go any larger than that. It's just a bit loose without being overly loose. I want to make sure that I can, 1, work on it, and 2, if I want to ever switch this out, maybe I want to put it on a silver bulb or a gold one, then I have that option, because sometimes these are not exactly universal in size. So once I have all of the beads on that I need, mine is a multiple of 6, as I said before. I have 36, so I'll have 6 swags of 6 beads each, just for this, well, the beginning. At the beginning, I'll have 6 swags. So I'm going to go back up through all the beads one more time. You're going to be reinforcing this again, just as we go around. Get my threads caught there. So you don't need to do this more than more than once. I do this so that when I tie my square knot, none of my beads are getting caught on the outside of the knot. That does tend to happen to me a lot. So I'm just gonna pull that down. I don't need too much of a tail there, just one that's long enough to tie my square knot. We'll be cutting it off shortly. So get to the point where you're meeting your tail there. Go ahead and tie a square knot, as I said. Make sure it's snug without being too snug. You want a little bit of play in there. Alright, I want to move away from that knot, so picking a way to go. I'm going to go ahead and just move several seed beads. It doesn't matter how many. Just to kind of move away from that knot there. And I'm going to give it a bit of a pull, and that will actually bring the knot from being right here to being somewhere under one of those beads right there. Okay. And just double checking. Yes, it fits. That's good. And if you've ever done any beading whatsoever, made any sort of bead cover, you're going to recognize this right off. I am just doing kind of a netting sort of thing, just sort of a simplified, there, now I'm coming out of a red one, a simplified netting, just because these the patterns, or the decorations, the pattern itself is going to be so prominent that I don't really want a ton of extra beadwork just to overpower it. I want the colors to be what's dominant in this piece. So I'm going to pick up one red, white, red. Again, I'm using size 11 knots. And I want to pick up an odd number of these. So I have 6 on there now. And I want to pick up one more. So 7. You're gonna skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and go in so that you're going through that 6th bead. If I can like that. And this is just going to form kind of a little dimple, sort of, you know, on the outside. To begin, I don't really want a ton of extra length just yet. So I'm going to pick up 7 more, starting with the red. And I'm coming out this red seed bead, so I want to go up to the next 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This red bead. You're going to go ahead and do the same until you meet back with the first bead. I will meet you back when I'm done. Alright, I've made it back to the beginning. I put on my last 7 beads, and I need to go through the same bead that I exited from at the very beginning, So this one, and pull it down. So now you have kind of a flower shape. Feel free to reinforce as many times as you want. For the sake of tutorial, I'm not going to do that. This way we can just move on. Now I'm going to go up through, I'm going to step up to the next round. I'm going to go through the first 4 beads that I add, 4 seed beads I added in the previous round. So this is round 3 that we're starting. And at every junction, go ahead and pop it on your bauble there and see how it's looking. If it doesn't look the way you want it to, you can always pull it back out and redo it. Yeah, it's annoying, but you can do that and make it so that you are completely satisfied. I'm happy with this, so I'm going to keep going. So now I've gone through the first 4 seed beads. I'm exiting the middle bead of this first loop, which is white in my case. And now I'm going to pick up another odd amount. In this case, I'm going to be picking up 9. And again, I started with the red. This is going to be personal preference. Just however you want to do it. Okay, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9 on my needle. And I want to go to the center bead of the next loop, which is going to be a white bead. So I'm going to count starting, here's the rest of this loop, and then it jumps into that bead right there, and then the new loop starts. And I need to count 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is this white bead right there. So I'm going to go ahead and go through that bead. And this is what I have. I'm going to repeat that step, going all the way around, and I'll meet up with you when I'm back to the beginning again. Alright, I've made it back to the beginning. Got 9 more strung on my needle. And I need to go through the first seed bead of round 2 that I went through in the beginning, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, this white one right there. That's probably kind of hard to see. I'm going to go through that one and pull my thread. This is what I have. And again, you can go through all these beads one more time to reinforce. I'm not going to on this round, just because it's not really going to get a whole lot of wear and tear. I'm going to go ahead and check it. And so far this is what we have. It's a flower shape. And it fits on my bauble pretty nicely there at the top. And it's at this point that you need to decide where exactly you want your candy charms to start coming into play, or your disc beads, whatever you happen to be using. I want mine to start not quite halfway down, more like about a third of the way down, which will be another 2 rows. So not this row. This round I'm about to start doing round 4, but probably round 5 is where I'm going to start adding mine in. So for round 4, you're going to do exactly what you've been doing, but you're going to add on extra beads into each loop. So I'm exiting this bead right here, and I need to go to the middle bead of the next loop, so or the first loop of the round we just did. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is a red bead for me. So I'm going to go up through all 5 of those. So I'm exiting bead number 5 of that loop. And again, pull my thread. And once again, we're going to pick up an odd number. This time, I should pick up 11, just so that it grows by the same amount. But I actually want to grow just a little bit faster than that, so I'm going to pick up 13. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12, 13. And again, I alternated it red, white, red, red, white, red, white. And I want to go through the 5th bead of the next loop. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is again a red bead for me. Oops. Unless you drop it. There it is. So go through the 5th bead, the middle bead of your previous loop. If you're doing a different pattern, maybe you're doing all one color except for the middle bead, that'll make it a whole lot easier to see than this red, white. But I really wanted to keep with the candy cane theme that I've got going this year, so I'm going to do red, white. This would look really stunning where the loop is all white and then one red bead, and then the next round has the loops all red and one white bead. That would look quite stunning as well. So I'm going to keep going off camera, picking up 13 beads and going through the 5th bead of the next loop. Alright, I've just deconstructed 3 of my earrings. This is how they look before you take them all apart. So I've got 2 pairs of pliers, and I'm going to grasp, boy, I can't talk today, on either, oh, sorry, it's not going to focus that high up, either side of the ear wire, and just twist like that. That'll open it up. And I'm going to find the jump ring that is holding the first cluster together on the chain, and I'm going to open the jump ring the same way I opened the ear wire. If I can find the opening. There it is. Just give it a twist. Like that. Then I'm going to carefully pull off my 2 dangles there. And then I'm going to re-close that jump ring because we can use it. Remember to twist rather than pull apart. When you pull it apart, you create a stress point at the opposite side, which can cause the jump ring to break. So now I'm going to add on a second jump ring, one of those 3mm ones I showed at the beginning. I'm going to open it, same way, and I'm going to add it to the top of my dangle, not to the other jump ring. We need two, and I'll show you why in a little bit. So I put the charm on, twist to close, and then double check to make sure it's nice and closed. We don't want it to fall through the string. We don't want the thread, the beading thread that we're using, to fall through. There it is. I knew I could get it out eventually. Alright, so if I can show you, you'll see that there are two jump rings on the top circle of the, right here, of the charm. There's two of them. They're not linked together, they're only linked on the charm. So I'm going to do that for the rest of my earring, and I've already done 3 of them. I've actually lost one of my dangles. It went flying across the room. So be careful of that. We're not going to be using these little dangles in this project, but maybe in a future project, I mean, we might want to save them for that. So I'm going to finish the rest of this earring and I'll be right back. Alright, this is what we have so far. I've got the last round of 13 done, and I'm coming out the center bead of the first loop. So now we're going to take a look at this, and if you'll notice, we're kind of at that point where it's on the bauble where it's starting to slope a lot faster. It's pretty flat up here at the top, of course, and as you work your way down it slopes a lot faster. So the slope here is fairly shallow, a little bit more, a little bit increase there, and farther down we go it increases more and more. So at this point I'm going to have to add on not 2 extra seed beads but 4, just so that it'll drape nicely over the top of this this bauble. And at this point I want to start adding on my little charms that I made just a moment ago, or that I added jump rings to. I didn't make these. So what you're gonna do, we just did a round of 13, so now we need to do 17. So the half of 17 is 8.5. Well, of course we're not going to use a half a seed bead. We're going to use a full seed bead. So what you need to do is put on half, which is 8, and then we'll string on our charm, and then we'll do the other half. And now you'll see why we put on two jump rings instead of just 1. So pick up 8. So that's 1, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Pick up, or go ahead and drop those down so we don't accidentally flick them off. You're going to pick up only one of the 2 jump rings. Make sure that when you go through the second one, they're in the correct orientation. Okay? Don't accidentally go like this, because you'll never pick up the second one. Don't do that. So go through the first one, pick up your 9th bead, slide it down. Oops. Yeah, maybe. Trying that again. And carefully go through the next jump ring, and that's going to keep jumping through. If your seed beads are like mine, some of them are a little fatter slightly than others. That's the ones you're looking for. You want to use the ones that are just slightly chunkier, so it'll stay in between the two jump rings. And boy, am I having trouble today. There we go. So this is what you have. A jump ring, a seed bead, a jump ring. Go ahead and slide those down. And then pick up the rest of your loop of seed beads. Starting with white, because you just put on a red. You need to finish off with the other 8. So 2, 4, 6, and 8. Slide those down. And you'll notice that I actually have a knot. No worries, just kind of maneuver your seed beads over it. I had an accident with a pair of scissors, but it's not a problem because you can just tie on more thread. The same as if you had run out of thread, so it's not a big deal. So on the next loop, we're going to go through the 7th or the middle bead, which in this case is this red one right here that I can't seem to pick up. There we go. Like that. And pull your thread. And at this point, you will see we have this. Now these little charms, they're not very heavy, but they are heavy enough to pull your thread loose, which will cause thread to show, and we don't want that. So go ahead and make a half hitch by going through the previous loop, which gives you a loop of thread. Pass your needle through that without getting it caught on your own finger. Pull it down, and then just make sure that the resultant loop is in the correct spot. If you pull on the loop, that'll make sure that the thread's tight, and then pinching it, pull the thread like that. And then I'm going to do that one more time. You won't see this knot. This thread is so thin, you'll never see that. So no worries. You definitely don't have to do that, but those charms were pulling. I don't know if you saw that, but the charm was pulling a little bit on my thread there, and causing it to go slack, and that's not what we want. So there's that. I'm going to repeat all the way around, putting 17, I know how to count really, 17 seed beads, stopping at the halfway point to add on my charm. Depending on the size of your jump rings, they may just slide over the seed beads, but mine wasn't. I was having trouble with that. So I do it this way. You don't, if you don't have to, don't do it. It's kind of a pain anyway. So I will meet you back when I get back to the beginning. Alright, I've made it back to the beginning. I've strung on my 15, or 17, I'm sorry, I keep saying 15. It's 17. 17 seed beads with the charm in the middle. You can do this without using 2 jump rings. But the problem is that it's going to be off center just slightly, either to the right or to the left. Oops, the whole thing upside down. And I don't like it when things aren't centered properly. For some reason, it bothers my eyes. So that's why I'm doing 2 jump rings instead of just 1. So this is what I have. I need to go back through the first seed bead I went through in the first when I first started. So, oops, sorry, it's out of focus. So this seed bead right here, and I'm only going to go through it for the moment because I want to tie another half hitch. Like this. And I'm going to tie a half hitch, and then I'm actually going to reinforce this particular round just to make sure that there are 2 threads going through each of the charms, because that way if the jump ring happens to slip one, it may not slip both, and you may not lose your charm. You'll have an opportunity to fix it before you lose it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass through all of these beads that I added in the first place, and I'll meet back up with you when I'm exiting the correct spot. This one up here. I'll be right back. Alright. I have reinforced and I'm back to the beginning. And now I need to put myself in position to add on the next round. So I need to travel up through all of those seed beads to the middle seed bead. Just like we've been doing before, we need to make sure we go through the jump rings as well. If you can't do it in one shot, it's okay to take your time and go through one at a time if you need to. And if you're gentle, you can actually bend your work just ever so slightly to create a nice little gap for your needle to go through where you need it to go through. Just be very gentle, you don't want to break this. So now I'm coming out the right position, and this is what I have. And sorry about that. I want the next loop to can't come down quite far. I added on 21 in the previous round, so the next logical number would be 25, and that's not going to bring your swag down just very far. If that's the look you're going for, that's great. I actually want it to come quite far so that my this loop is halfway down my bauble, so that my next set of charms will sit quite low. You could be finished at this point too, by the way. If you like the way it looks, just reinforce as many times as you want, tie some knots, cut your thread, and call it good. I have a lot more of these little charms. I've got 6 more, so I want to use them. Plus I also have these bigger charms. These earrings, I have 6 of those as well. And I kind of want to see those dangling down below, just slightly below my bauble, which I think will look quite nice. So I'm going to keep going. And to do that, I'm going to pick up 29 seed beads. stopping at the halfway point, which is 14.5. Of course, again, we're not using half a seed bead, so stop at 14. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, whoops, 10, 12, that's getting a little hard for me to hold on to, so I'll drop them down, 13 and 14. I'm going to pick up my next charm. I go through the first jump ring, pick up my middle bead, which is number 15. If you drop it down, it's a whole lot easier to go through the second jump ring. I didn't show that before because I wanted to make sure you could see what I was doing. So you have that. And then you're going to pick up the last 14 for a total of 29. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, oops, don't flick them off like I did, 12, and 14. Here's what I have. And I need to go through the middle, again, just like we've been doing, the middle seed bead. But I also need to go through both of my jump rings as well. Like that. And again, these are going to want to pull loose a little bit. See how it's trying to pull loose because the charm is kind of heavy. Oops, flicking things here. So I'm going to go ahead and tie 1/2 hitch. You can tie 2, but with the jump rings in the way, it's going to kind of tend to want to be kind of bulky right there and kind of make things a little awkward. So that is not something I want. So I'm going to be careful and only do 1 and make sure I get it between the jump ring and the next seed bead, which is white for me. And I've got that in the wrong place. I'll be right back. Alright, that took a little bit of doing. I can't believe I did that. Okay, so I've done my first loop, tied a 1/2 hitch, and I'm coming out that seed bead right there, that middle one from the previous loop, or, well, the previous round. And this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and string on 29 more, stopping at the halfway point, add my charm, and then pick up the other half. And I will do that for all the loops. And I'll be right back. Alright, I've made it back to the beginning. And this is what I have. I've strung on my 29 seed beads and the charm. And I need to go back through the first seed bead of the first loop of the previous round, or the middle seed bead of the first loop of the previous round, which is that one right there. Alright. And then I'm going to actually go through the next one before I tie my half hitch, just to get away from that that jump ring right there. It's a little awkward right there. And then I will reinforce like I did before, just so that I know there's two threads coming or passing through the seed bead, or the seed beads and the jump ring, so that hopefully I will not lose one of my charms. So I will do that, and I will meet you back when I'm done. Alright, I made it back, and I'm exiting the correct seed bead of the first loop of the previous round. And here's what I have. And I put this on my bauble. This is what I have. So what it looks like. And yeah, I'm gonna have to adjust some of these charms to make sure that they're sitting towards the front. Just give it a slight tug and it should go where it needs to go. I'll do that off camera when I'm all done, because it's boring, you don't need to watch that. So I'm exiting right here, and I want my next swag to come down quite far. Now this part is up to you how far down you want it to come, but I want it to come quite low so that my bigger charms kind of dangle off the very end, the very bottom, I probably should say, of my bauble here. Not by much, just a little bit, just so that they're slightly lower than the bottom of this bauble. You could be done here if you want. That would be quite pretty without the final swags, but when it comes to Christmas ornament, less is not more in my book. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going. So to get the swag as deep as I want it to be, I am going to add 39. So I did 29 on the previous round, but this time I want to do 39. So I will pick up half of that, which is 19 and a half. And again, we don't use half seed beads. So I'm going to pick up my 19, then my charm, and then my middle seed bead and the other 19. And we'll go from there. Alright, I'm exiting the correct seed bead, which is this red one in the middle of this first loop of the previous round. I've reinforced the whole round so that there's two threads through each charm at this point. I want to add 39 seed beads for each swag so that this bigger charm will dangle just slightly lower than the bottom of my bauble. So half of 39 is 19 and a half. And of course, once again, we are not using half seed beads. So we're going to pick up 18. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18. And we actually need to go one more, 18, 19. That puts us at the middle bead, which is number 20. And in this case, it's a white one, because I started with red. So you're going to pick up your charm, make sure it's going in the correct orientation. For me, it doesn't quite matter too much because all of my previous charms are double-sided, but this one is not. With it oriented this way, I'm going to pick up the right side jump ring, and I'm going to pick up the chunkiest white seed bead I can find, which these are all pretty similar. The reds have slightly more variance in them than the white ones do. So that one's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and drop that down. Pick up my left jump ring. And this is what I have so far. And then I'll finish picking up my seed bead. So I need to finish, that one is number 20, so I need to go to 39. So 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, and 39. Oops, 39. I'm going to drop those down, and then just like we've been doing before, go through the jump ring, the middle seed bead, and the other jump ring of the next loop. And again, if you need to, you can bend your work just a little. Don't get too carried away. Remember, this is only 8-pound test fire line, and it can break if you aren't gentle. And if you have to, you can actually go too far and then back out of that. That's okay too. Sometimes it's just easier. There we go. And I don't know if you're seeing that, but I can pull that tight and then it starts to pull loose. So I'm definitely going to need a half hitch here. Go ahead and send your needle through the loop right next to where you're exiting. Put your needle through the thread loop that you just created. Make sure you are not catching any seed beads. Your thread should be going around, or going between the jump ring and the first white seed bead right there, or the first seed bead on that side of the loop. Give it a nice tug and then cinch it down. Alright, I fixed my problem there. I'm going to continue on around, but just in case you were wondering, and you may not have been, but oops, sorry. Here is what that dangle looks like, and it sits just slightly lower when it's hanging than the bottom of my bauble, just ever so slightly, which is exactly what I wanted. So I'm going to finish going all the way around, and I'll meet you back up when I get to the beginning again. Alright, here is the finished project. I reinforced the outside, tying half hitches every so often just to make sure that it's nice and secure. I don't want this coming apart, of course. That's a lot of work. I'm exiting this bead right here, and I mentioned at the beginning that you could use any bead to be your focal. It doesn't have to be a charm, but I didn't bother to tell you how you could do that. So I'm going to show you really quick. I'm right here. So I'm going to just come out somewhere in between that point and that point, just so that we can see how that could be done. Okay. You would do your loops just exactly the same on the middle bead. However, you are going to pick up your focal bead, which this one is just a bead. You're going to pass through it. You're going to pick up a bead to be your stop bead, so it won't come back off, then go back up through it. Like this. And then you're going to continue on, picking up beads and going to the next junction. That will add a focal bead instead of a charm. Okay? But since I decided not to use those this time around, I'm going to go ahead and take it off, cut my thread, and I'll show you the finished project. Sorry, awfully close there. And here's what it looks like on my bauble. At this point, you may want to make a hanger. You could use ribbon. You could do, like in the other tutorials, you can make a beaded one using 15/aughts. That would look very nice. That's all up to you. However you like, whatever you happen to prefer. And I'll have a picture at the end for you to take a peek at, and I will see you next time. And thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. Bye now.